My name is Marian Aldan-Pierce, and I was born in Saipan in 1954. So my father was Francisco Crisostomo Aldan, and my mom is Amparo de Leon Guerrero Tenorio. My stepfather was Jose Pangilinan Tenorio. Well, I actually grew up in Chalancanoa. Sugar Dock was our backyard because Sugar Dock literally was our backyard. I mean, we had the ocean back there. So, the need to go to Micro Beach and American Memorial Park at that time was just jungle. So, but the only time that we really went to that area when we were small would be for school outings. So that was basically it. Basically, back in the late 90s, the government knew that the garment industry was going to be exiting the CNMI. So we had to find out, and I say we because I was very much involved in government. We had to find ways to really make up for the revenues that the garment industry brought into the CNMI. So the governor, put together this task force, and really the only other industry back then was the tourism industry. So we had to find ways, and we had to come up with projects to make Saipan a desirable destination, so that we can continue to welcome visitors. And it just made perfect sense to have the American Memorial Park developed so that it will become a destination on its own. So that was a big part of this. The revitalization of Garapan as a special district back in the really late 90s. At that time we got together with the park officials were very involved. We had a very active, we call it the DAC, the Development Advisory Council. So that was made up of business people and government leaders from the CNMI plus the National Park Service. We got together and, hashing out plans and, what could we possibly do at the park. And that's really when the idea to build the visitor center, the Mariana's Memorial, the Court of Honor, the flag circle came about. Back and forth, lots of back and forth. The park decided they were going to be able to fund, I think back then 50% of the project, but we needed to get the CNMI government to fund the second, the remaining 50. So we made a presentation actually between the joint session of the legislature, just mapping out what the vision was for the American Memorial Park and Garapan as a special district, and we were very successful in getting the funding back then. So that really was how it all started. And the goal back then, and I think still is to have the American Memorial Park again a must-see destination for visitors and really for our people, because it is a living memorial. Wow, a huge sense of pride, just knowing what it took to for it to be really what it is today. It was the involvement of both the community leaders, the community itself, the business community was very involved, and, of course, the federal government through the National Park Service. So, it's a wonderful place. People go there every day, all hours of the day, and, to really enjoy it. And I think, that's one way of continuing to honor the memories of the people who actually gave so much to everybody, just to remember what they did and truly enjoy the park in honoring their memories. So it's a great place. I think growing up, my grandparents were there, during the Japanese occupation. My mom actually was a very young girl, during the war itself. And, so naturally, just stories, when you're sitting down at a table or, being outside enjoying, what you have today, things like that actually come up. And, and the thing that about the Japanese occupation, and not necessarily the war, but the Japanese occupation, we always ask my mom, because you know how it is, they say, walked a mile to school, whatever, okay, just to get us, on our best behavior. But they really did. They really did walk for miles because they were allowed to go to school, and they were expected to work in the sugarcane fields thereafter. But the one thing that I do remember is, the Japanese occupation was a friendly one for them. And she said, you know what, we had to walk to school, we had to, work in the fields later on, but we were allowed to be kids. So they were having fun, out there in the sugarcane fields. And so for them, it was a really nice memory. I think in terms of truly, what they went through during the war, I don't know, maybe I chose to kind of like block that out, really, because I think it wasn't a good experience. I just know that I remember when the Americans finally landed, and there's so many different families in the caves, and the Americans were calling for them to come out, and but the women and the children were scared because of just all of the propaganda that they had heard. They were going to be killed, by these American people. So basically, all of the men just kind of got up and said, okay, we're going to go out, and we will meet them, and if they're going to kill somebody, they'll kill us first. So it's just one of those things. It's like none of us nowadays can imagine, what it must have been like to have that kind of fear. It's just very touching. But another thing about World War II, and I think it would be the other side of the equation, was my father-in-law was actually involved with that Manhattan Project. He was an electrical engineer at Hanford, and when he came to Saipan, of course, he wanted to know where Tinian was. And I remember he was really sad because he said that they were working on a part of the project, but they didn't really know what the project was really all about. And I remember I would wake up in the morning, because we were living behind the Garrett Church at the time, and I would find him, under this coconut tree with a nice view of Tinian, and just with this really sad, face. And I would have to tell him, you have to, I'm sure that you feel terrible, but it's, it ended the war, basically, so your part of the project really saved, probably millions of people. So I always think of that too, so sad. Yeah, exactly. And the thing about in terms of how it impacts us as a family, again, a lot of it really was during the occupation. My grandfather was a communications expert, so he was sent to Yap. So as a result, my father, Oceana's, grandfather, was born in Yap. I had a Yapese grandmother, and so there's all of those things. A lot of people were relocated, and so the impact of the war, pre-war, post-war, wartime, continues to this day. It's one of those things where it was not our war, but we were, caught in the middle, and we were not the only ones. I of course, I did my homework. I went and, read a lot about the American Memorial Park and, the missions and stuff like that. And it's so true, we, throughout the Pacific, we were caught in this global, war that we really were not a part of. But, we experienced it, and, like you said, some people choose to not, continue to live it because, it's just time to move forward. Reconciliation. So anyway, like I said, our tourism industry really started in the mid 70s with the Japan market, because they were coming back to the CNMI to collect the bones of the people that, passed away in Saipan and Tinian. Um, and and that's really what it was. I mean, it was just the monks coming, and then pretty soon, the members of the families of those who were living in Saipan, during the occupation, would bring their children and grandchildren to introduce them to families that they actually, met and knew during the occupation, so that relationship will continue. So I think in that sense. Yeah, and that's why really the tourism industry just was really, really strong with the Japan market. And then as the other markets, we started going after the Koreans and the Chinese and the Russians. It continues to be relevant because we have so many memorials and monuments and just reminders of what really happened in Saipan and Tinian, during the war. So they ask questions, and that's very relevant. I mean, it is our history, it is our past, and it is what makes us who we are today. So it's very relevant, and it will continue to be relevant. It's a huge part of our history, and that really is who we are today. And the American Memorial Park, it's a living memorial for, again, the thousands of people who sacrificed their lives, and we honor them by having the park there every day. Every time we go there, we think about them, and we are reminded of the sacrifices that they took. So I think it will continue. It will always be always be part of our history. There's just no way that you can forget something that big, and that's why the park itself it's so important as a destination, that it needs to be there. It needs to continue to have all of the stories of what happened, and the pictures and the videos, and as sad as that may be, it's just a reminder, and we also have to be mindful that it wasn't just in Saipan and Tinian. I mean, this thing happened in Guam. It happened throughout Micronesia. So everywhere you go, there are reminders, and that's just, it's not going to go away. But my hope, because I was very, very involved with the formation of the American Memorial Park that you see today. And I truly understand and appreciate the importance of what that brings to our community. I mean, there are, states, there are cities, bigger than we are, who are salivating to have a National Park Service in their backyard. And we are so fortunate that we have it. So the thing that I would like to impart, to whoever's watching, is that this is about the community, and we should never ever try to take it away, because it's like, what are we going to take away? I was very lucky that our company, and I mean, I'm retired now, but DFS, Duty Free Shoppers, had always believed in being a part of the community, and that's why we were the first ones to light up the park. We gave a huge donation, to have the pathway, lit up, and Dr. John Romisher, was our training manager. And before there was even a visitor center and amphitheater, there was a teeny-weeny, museum right by the Hyatt, and Dr. Romisher was the one. Came to DFS, got fixtures, and brought them over there, and we had the air conditioner fixed, and then he was dealing with the War in the Pacific people to bring artifacts back. And that, because that's where it belonged, in Saipan, not in Guam. So it's very important to have people as passionate as me, continue this legacy, because our people, our kids growing up, need to be reminded, of what happened, why it happened, and how we were impacted by then, and then just move forward. So that's the story that I want to impart. I will never be away so much that I cannot be a part of the park in any way that I can. Be it projects that you guys need, and you need something done in from Seattle. I'm here, and I don't want to get paid. I'm just here because I love it. So just please keep that in mind. No, I mean, coming from the visitor industry, I know that the marketing of the National Park Service, the American Memorial Park is very important. And I am still a member of the Visitors Authority, and I know that is always part of our mandate, is just to promote, the American Memorial Park as a must-see destination. And that's really all that we can do, is continue to do that, have the visitors come, enjoy the park, continue to improve on the amenities that are offered for the local people within the park, because you guys have it's a huge piece of land, and there's still a lot that can be done, and again, it would require a joint partnership between the local government and the federal government. But come up with a great plan, and people would be passionate enough, they can push it, so that it can continue to be relevant. I mean, the addition of the Governor Eloy Peace Park, I thought that was wonderful. That just kind of extended the American Memorial Park to the north, and there's still so much that can be done. So the park will always be relevant, and it will always be as relevant as we want it to be. So people just need to understand that.